It was like 3-4 weeks in and the rejections just kept on rolling in. I felt like I wasn't good enough for any of the things I was seeing.
You said that you did a lot of preparation even before you came to Canada. What was that preparation like?
I was able to reach out to, say, hiring managers and send follow-up messages and actually get responses back instead of being ghosting, even though I got my current job purely from like cold applying.
So thank you for coming on. My name is Ezaz. This is the Uproots Podcast. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Mujida, I moved to Canada about 2 years ago. It's been an interesting experience. I've attempted to immigrate a couple of times before finally moving to Canada. My 9 to 5, I work as a product manager. My business is helping other immigrants get jobs. I primarily do that through one-on-one coaching or by delivering workshops to communities.
How long have you been doing the coaching?
I started late last year. You know, some things feel simple for you, but then you don't realize so many other people struggle with the exact same thing. It sounds so boring. It's just jobs. Like, how to get jobs? Like, who doesn't? Yeah, it was very, very short-sighted of me. When I landed, I was able to get a job in 7 weeks.
You did not have any experience in Canada before that?
Well, I did not have any experience. Like, I heard all the stories. In Canada, you have to have Canadian experience, you have to get jobs. I feel like I've been preparing to immigrate for years before I finally immigrated. So all of my career decisions, my career choices were all geared towards being able to land on my feet as soon as I got here, right? I remember people saying, oh, you have to get a survival job. And I'm like, that doesn't really make sense to me. I'm the kind of person I feel I can do anything, but there's very few things that I actually enjoy doing. And it'll just be nice to do something I enjoy doing. So yeah, that kind of just formed my determination, like, okay, this has to work. And I remember before I landed, I got a few interviews. So I felt confident, like, as soon as I get here, things are going to be smooth. I'm going to sign an offer and it'll be great. But it was like 3-4 weeks in and the rejections just kept on rolling in. What was going on?
It's very disheartening, doesn't it? Yeah.
I had to be like, okay, you know what? Hold up. Something has to change here. Like, what's going on? I know how to get jobs. What's this? It felt like I wasn't good enough for any of the things that I was seeing. And that just didn't make sense to me. I'm like, I know how to do this job. I've been doing it for a couple of years. So it really was just about me sitting down and thinking about, okay, what can I do well? What can I do in my sleep? And then figuring all of that out and then making a decision to just focus on those for the entire period. And thankfully, the job I got was exactly around the areas where I decided I wanted to focus. My networking was I did it in a way that worked for me. So it was just really looking through all of my experience back then, thinking through the things that worked and sharing with other people. And it was so interesting because I realized not a lot of immigrants have been prepping for the job market the way that I had been before I landed. My friends, a lot of them are developers. My husband is a developer, and they were talking about getting 6-figure jobs like it was a guarantee. They weren't even thinking of anything less. And I'm like, why am I not thinking that way? So I think just being in that space as well really forced me to think outside of the box and be like, okay, I want to have something that is not normal for most people. I can't do the same thing everybody's doing and expecting the same result.
You were very intentional about what kind of job you wanted to do and what you wanted to do after moving to Canada. And you started preparing for that years before you moved to Canada. While your application and immigration process was still underway, you started, you got into the product manager job, got a couple of years of experience for that. You knew that's what you wanted to do here. You landed. You were very intentional about not getting a survival job. Your network was very geared towards finding a 6-figure job as well. You said you networked differently than normally what's advised. And you said that the way you found the job or the way you applied for jobs was also different than what is usually advised on the internet. What did you do that was different?
The first thing I needed to do was a lot of job titles are the same. However, what the job description is asking for is very, very different. So it was really me starting to pay more attention to what the job actually wanted and matching it against what I had to offer, right? So my thing was product delivery, and that just meant the job description had to be speaking to product delivery. So once I had that decision, created a resume that matched exactly that, any other product job, it would not be a good fit. But if I submitted it for that specific one, it would be a perfect fit. So that was like really the first thing for me. And that really helped me get the interview. And then for the networking part, I'm not the most extroverted person. So I tried to have very specific goals. I wasn't just going to network for the sake of networking. When I saw roles that I was really interested in and I felt like was a good fit for me, I did my best to try to get a referral for that specific role. And
Right.
because I wasn't trying to do 10 things at once when it comes to networking, I had the bandwidth and the emotional capacity to actually try to build some kind of relationship, have conversations with people before asking for a referral, and that increased like my chances of actually getting something. And again, because I wasn't trying to network, I was able to reach out to say hiring managers and send follow-up messages and actually get responses back instead of the usual ghosting. Even though I got my current job purely from like code applying. So the whole resume optimization I did initially, that worked for me. I got the job through code applying. I did not speak to anybody at the company throughout the entire period. So it definitely still works. You just have to do it correctly. But if you want to do networking, this is how I do networking. I try to have specific goals. I try to not try to do everything at once and be everywhere. I didn't really have the time. My brain could not afford to just sit in front of a PC and apply to jobs for hours and hours. It was mentally draining. So I figured, okay, I have a couple of hours to apply to jobs. How can I make the best of it? The biggest thing was deciding to focus on my application. What exactly did I want? That helped me get the right kind of attention. And when I got to the interviewing stage, because I was applying to a job that I literally felt like I could do in my sleep, my confidence level was like out of the roof
Sure.
because I could talk about the job without even having to prepare for the interview. And I also had a lot of stories to answer questions. You know, there's a difference between when they ask you, tell me about this, and you're trying to describe frameworks versus you talking about when you've actually done it before, what happened, the
Right.
results, like one carries a lot more powerfully than the other, and it just really helped me stand out. Then the negotiation part got a little dicey. Like I asked for way more than they were willing to give. They offered 95K and I wanted something six figures. I'm like, that's not me.
Right.
I'm taking that. So once we went back and forth, I almost lost out on the offer, but thankfully, I think because I did well in the interview already, we're able
Right.
to settle on something that worked for both of us.
It's always great to hear people who've landed jobs in their own fields rather than having to work survival jobs for months. And then sometimes they even get stuck in those survival jobs for years. It's really hard to break out of that cycle, right? You get
Yeah.
addicted to that paycheck coming in every month. Then you're tired after the work day. You don't have time to apply for the jobs. Your
Yeah.
confidence is on all-time low.
And the fact that the longer you stay at the job, the more distance you start to feel at whatever it was that you could do before. And then it's starting to feel like maybe I'm not so great at it. I've definitely seen that with friends when I'm like, well, I really wish it could be better. People get overwhelmed with rejections, right? I mean, of course I did too. And one of the things I keep trying to tell people again and again now is rejections are normal. It is not a problem. You don't have to make it mean anything because as soon as you start making mean something about you, you start to lose out on opportunities, like
Yeah.
actual opportunities. And it's either you lose out on opportunities or you start to sell yourself short, right?
Yeah.
Like I was at a job fair recently and I lost count of how many people walked up to me to say, I'm even applying for customer service jobs and I'm not getting it. And I'm like, you're way better than a customer service job. Your qualification was never the problem in the first place. You don't know how to apply to jobs and get jobs. That was the
Yeah.
problem, not because you didn't have the right experience or you didn't have enough education. Even to get a customer support job, the same rules apply.
You said you did a lot of preparation even before you came to Canada. What was that preparation like?
My career path was very interesting, right? Keep in mind, like 2 years before I came to Canada, I wasn't sure if I was going to come to Canada. Throughout my entire journey, I wasn't directly preparing for Canada, but I was very intentional about my career choices and career decisions. Like, what do I want to do? How am I building my work? How am I building my portfolio? Like, I was able to get a product job here with less than 2 years of actual product management experience, but that was good for me because it might have been less than 2 years, but those 2 years had the right kind of stuff for the right kind of person, right?
Right.
I'm
Right.
not the most qualified product manager out there. Like there are people who have handled way bigger products than I have, but I knew what I was going to specialize in at some point.
How many jobs did you happen to apply for?
Honestly, I don't know. I was not the person who counted jobs that I applied
So
to.
in hundreds though, were you? So I had another person that I was speaking with, and they brought up an
Yeah.
important point where they said you have to track the jobs that you're applying for, because at
Mm.
some point you're applying for like 150, 200 jobs, and you get a call and you don't even know where that call is from.
So that's the thing. That's the thing. I'm not up the school of thought of applying for 150 jobs. Like
Right.
some people do that and it
Yeah.
works for them, right?
Right.
But me personally, something about that just didn't sit right with me, right?
Yeah.
People do it, that's fine. But for me, and just kept reading through job descriptions because it's like something about this doesn't match my profile. And even though it means like I spend some extra time or customizing resumes, like I don't mind. I just want to know, okay, today the things that I applied to made a lot of sense and I submitted about a couple of resumes, right?
Right.
I think maybe I did about 4 to 6 applications in a day.
And this is not a remote job. This is a job that is based in Canada. It's not a remote US job that you are working for.
No,
Right.
Canada jobs. It was
Right.
permanent. Canada. I don't remember really applying to US based jobs.
In terms of your paperwork, did you move here as a temporary worker, or did you move as a permanent resident? And did
Permanent,
that have an effect on finding a job for you?
permanent residence, and yes, it really made a difference. I've had to leave 2 countries because of work permit issues. I was
Right.
not about to do the same thing for Canada.
Yeah.
I think like even the confidence, just go out there and confidently apply to things. You know how you click that thing on the form, do you need future sponsorships?
Yeah.
It felt so good to be able to say
Not
no.
no. Yeah, I know. When we were in the UK, we faced the same issue with terms of immigration, and we made the same decision you did, that if we were moving to Canada, we're moving with a permanent residence.
If you want to get work permit, it has to be like a very specific valiant skill. So you really have to plan ahead and think about what is the thing that they're going to want to sponsor me for? Because the process is quite expensive for companies. I have a friend or two who are also on work permits right now, and these are highly skilled people that the company do not mind going through the process for them. If you're on a work permit, I'm sure your company loves you, but if you've not gotten the documents that makes you stay permanently, start thinking of that extension process 6 months, 9 months ahead. You really have to have so much foresight if you're on a work permit versus someone with permanent residence.
100%, yeah. And the key point that I take from what you've said so far is that even before you move to Canada, if you want to move here as a permanent resident or as a temporary worker, a few years before you want to do that, prepare yourself. Design your career path in a way that you will be seen as a skilled employee when you move to Canada, even before you move to Canada. If you have a very specific skill and there is a need for that in Canada, yeah, definitely there are companies that will recruit you for that, but you have to have an ironclad resume built out, a very robust career path that you've already followed to be able to do that. So 100%. I want to ask you a little bit about your personal life as well, Mujida, because that definitely affects the way we conduct ourselves professionally. Everyone has like a unique story. You said that you moved to Belgium, you moved to Dubai. What motivated you to move to Canada, or uproot yourself from Nigeria, where you grew up and you spent the better part of your life?
It really was just finding better opportunities, finding a much saner environment. Like Nigeria is amazing, but it's also a pretty crazy country. Like the economic, I've lived in Lagos most of my adult life. So experiencing it, living through some of the crisis that was going on, it really just strengthened my resolve. I like money a lot. Okay, I like money a lot. So this skill. So I think there was a bit of that too on the funny side, but yeah, it was primarily just like the ecosystem, the economics, the way things were going. The outlook was just not so great. I'm the first of 4 kids. I'm the only girl. So, thinking of the family, taking care of the family, I have mouths to feed at home. And we just could not all afford to be in the same place. I don't know if you're familiar, but is this thing like the family does where they just invest in one person? I feel like I was that person for my parents because they honestly spared an expense in terms of sponsoring a bunch of my travels just to make sure I succeed, and hopefully I'm able to do the same for my siblings as well. So I think it was really just thinking very strategically about the future of the family, and it just kind of makes sense to leave.
I mean, finding a better life, that's kind of the common reason why people uproot themselves and move out of their home countries. But it takes a lot because you've got friends, you've got network, you've got people you've grown up with, you've got family. There's a lot of support that you have in your home country, and you don't get all of that when you move to Canada.
It was interesting because I'd already been delusioned about what life was like as an immigrant with my first two trips. When I moved here, it was almost like an emotionless thing. I had zero expectations of support, zero expectations of anything or even making friends or anything. When people ask me, how is Canada for you? I'm like, well, it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's making me the money,
Yeah.
so I'm not complaining.
What was
Yeah.
the one or two big cultural shocks that you faced?
This is going to sound weird, but I met more immigrants than I thought I would.
Fair enough.
Where we lived in Montreal was primarily like an immigrant community. It was really nice for me personally because I felt like someone else would understand my experience. The first place I put my daughter in for daycare, the lady was Tunisian, and it was just nice to not have to explain certain things. I was bracing for the whole like Canadians are nice, but then there's still racism. I was kind of bracing for something terrible might happen and I have to protect my daughter or protect myself. But it was nice to land in a community of immigrants and not have to be as guarded as I thought I'd need to be. And then the other thing that was kind of like a culture shock, it's gonna sound terrible, but I'm used to like a government system where I just kind of pay somebody and they make it up.
There are moments like that when you kind of start missing brides, so to speak. I know a good system, but you know, it's just
Yeah.
this would be so much easier back home.
Oh my god, yeah. So I definitely miss that being able to just, and
Breathe some
then
palms and get done. Yeah.
the experience of getting a family doctor as well. Ha. Oh my god.
It is getting more and more difficult. I think in the last few years, as the population of Canada has exploded quite a bit. Thanks in good part to the immigration, but that has also put some issues with the infrastructure in terms of health, in terms of schools, and it hasn't caught up yet. I believe it will in the next few years, and it will stabilize. But yeah, for the moment at least. Yeah.
I was hearing about some budget changes that were made, especially around having more healthcare workers. Thankfully, now I do have a doctor, but it was a very stressful process. My daughter got a doctor much faster because she was younger, and I think they put them on some kind of fast track, I guess.
Right.
But for me personally, it was very. I hope I don't get sick because I don't know.
No, you don't have the benefits when you move in before you get a job, right?
It's one of the reasons I'm so grateful for getting my job as early as I did. I remember when I first got here, I had some kind of weird infection. I had to go see a doctor. I think my health insurance then and then kicked in. I had to pay like $200 for a consultation of less than 15 minutes. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
And they'll rush you through that as well, right? And you can only ask one question. It's pretty frustrating having to pay for that.
but yeah, those are some of my most interesting experiences as a new immigrant. And for the rest of them, I kind of just try not to baby myself too much, I guess.
Just take it in your stride. Another thing, Mujida, I wanted to say was, there's a lot of talk about assimilating into Canadian culture. In terms of your own experience, have you made any efforts to do that, or have you done that while still also preserving your own personal identity, your own cultural identity?
So that's a really good point. One way that I have been, it's going to sound absurd, but one way that I have been conscious of like, I have to do things the way people do things here is with my driving. I try as much as I can to be a really good driver. There's a reason driving here is not insane, and I am very, very determined to keep
Yeah.
that up.
To keep it. Oh, I don't miss driving back. Oh man, it's
Yeah.
lanes. The traffic lights are just guidelines, suggestions. You might want to follow the red light.
And I think being here definitely has helped with my appreciation of other people's lived experiences because when you're able to smile at somebody and randomly just say hi, it just makes you think, you know what, maybe they were having a hard day as well, or maybe, life was happening. Or you see other moms with their kids struggling and like, get in, get out, blah, blah, blah. You're like, yeah, I know what that feels like. And like, you can just smile and appreciate it and be like, I see it.
Simple as that. Yeah. I just want to end on one quick question. Everyone has dreams and they evolve over the years, their motivations. How have your motivations, your dreams, your reality evolved looking back over the years, moving from Dubai to Belgium to Canada?
I'd say being in Canada has definitely allowed me to dream a little bit more. Being able to achieve a lot of the things that were on my list has allowed me to now start to think about, what do I really want my life to look like? What kind of life do I want to build? What do I want to do in my future? I definitely felt I had the brain space to start to really think about what I really wanted to do in my life, how I want my future to look like. So it's evolved from survivalist to now more, how can I start to multiply? How can I start to thrive and live life properly, since I have a lot of the things that I've definitely wanted.
If people want to find you, how do they find you?
Yeah, sure.
Where do you live online?
I'm on LinkedIn primarily. Mujida Sakibu, Mujida Sakibu. I accept requests all the time. I'm happy to have a conversation if anyone wants to chat. And I'm also on LinkedIn, six-figure job coach. I'll put a link for that because it's a bit more complicated.
I'll put a link in the show notes.
I'm happy to have conversations with you.
Okay, good.